So this is questions from several weeks ago. Someone asked back in July, and I just saw this question. I'm trying to respond to an old question here, but it was a question of why does God rest on the seventh day? It seems like an odd thing. Here's the creator of the universe who spoke a universe that has billions and billions of galaxies in it and trillions of stars in it, and suddenly he needs a rest, like he needs to go lay down or something. What's going on with that? Well, as you work through the days of creation, from day 1 through day 6, there's a growth in the significance of each day. In the beginning, God created heavens and the earth, and then that seems to be an overview statement. And then the specific days seems to be kind of the details of that overview statement of Genesis chapter 1, verse 1. In the beginning, God created heavens and the earth, and here's the way he did it. Day 1, day 2, day 3, so forth and so on. And as we progress through the days, light and darkness, water and land, sky and water, and then land separated from water in day 3. And then we have the creation of the very specific things such as sun, moon, and stars in day 4. Day 5, we have the creation of birds and fish, which go with day 2, the air and water. And then we also have in day 6 then the creation of mammals. But in day 6, there's this additional creation, and God said, let us make man in our own image. And so God made Adam and Eve as the pinnacle of day 6. So as you work through the days, it seems as if we progress through the days, greater and greater significance is occurring. And so the seventh day is a day that God sanctifies and makes holy. In other words, the greatest expression of the creation is not the objects that God created, but the creatures rest in the work of their creator. So that the seventh day is actually the greatest or the pinnacle of the 7 days, not some throwaway extra day, but emphasizing the purpose of the creation, which is to sanctify or see God as holy and to actually rest in him. And in the New Testament, it's played out in the person of Christ, because we see in the book of Hebrews that Christ is our Sabbath rest. He's the one that the rest we enter into. And so we see in the book of Hebrews that Christ as our rest, when we put our faith in him, we enter into his rest. And so this is the design of God, is that the nation of Israel would enter into his rest. Much the way he rested, he's now inviting us to enter into that rest, a sanctified relationship with him that's a dependence upon him. And so the seventh day is actually the pinnacle. The penultimate day is the day before, day 6, the creation of people. But people are created in order to rest in God, and to be sanctified by God, to be part of that relationship with him. And that's why we see later on in Genesis, we see this relationship between Adam and Eve, that God comes and walks in the garden with Adam and Eve, and he has a conversation with them, and their existence is driven around their relationship to God. And so as you work through the days of creation, and it gets greater and greater significance, the world wasn't created so that light and darkness would be glorified, but that God would be glorified. And animals weren't created so that they'd be glorified, but that God would be glorified through them. And then as you get closer and closer to those that bear his image, humans, we weren't created for the creation to be about us, but we were created so that we could, more than all of the rest of creation, appreciate the Creator, to worship him, treat him as holy or sanctified, and to rest in him. And so day 7 is the completion of all that work, and the humans rest in God. And so that seems to be the reason for the seventh day rest. And then when it's finally given as an edict in the law of Moses in Exodus, we don't have an explicit statement to Sabbath rest until Exodus and the giving of the law. In fact, when Moses gives it, the nation of Israel seems surprised by it. Like, hey, what is this? What are we doing? And so he tells them it's a sign. It points to a sign of what? A sign of the creation, and a sign of the fact that our ultimate purpose of life isn't to work with our hands and make money, but ultimately to make God holy in our life and to rest in him. And so the reason for the seventh day rest is that it is the ultimate purpose of all creation, is to make God holy in our lives and to rest completely in him. And so I think day 7 gives us the purpose of the entire creation. To know God and to glorify him and enjoy him